In this session, we're going to look at some of the syncing options and what happens when you need to sync. So first of all, you'll see that we're on the calendar screen, which is basically the normal layout when you first get into ServiceMax. You'll see at the bottom, the tools now has what they call a medal on it, and it says number 1. So that means we need to do something in tools before we can really do anything else. You can see that there's also one of those medals now that we're in the tool section. There's also one over the config sync. That means we're going to have to perform a config sync before we do anything else. Config syncs you'll need to do whenever we make any changes in the background, anything to the UI or anything to how the data flows, anything like that. Whenever we make any kind of change like that, you're going to have to do a config sync. But again, you see right here that that's how it notifies you with the little medal with the 1, and it's pretty easy to figure out. Plus, it won't let you go any further, really. If you try to do a data sync, it's not going to let you. So let's start with the config sync and let it go. Config syncs can take pretty long, depending on how many changes were actually made in the system. This one might take a little bit longer because we did make a bunch of changes. Once in a while, if you try to do a config sync, it will make you do a purge data. You might be able to see the purge data behind the config sync in progress section right on the bottom. You know, basically what it does is it purges all the data off of your tablet. So it's basically like when you guys call me up and ask me, hey, can you, how do I do a database reset? Purge data is pretty much the ServiceMax version of a database reset. So that's going to take everything off your tablet. So when in doubt, before you call anybody up, even your service manager, if you're having issues, do a purge data first. And that'll get everything off of there if you're having data issues. And then when you're done with that, again, do a config sync and then go do a data sync. But like I said, most of the time, like in this case, we only had to do a config sync. But once in a while, you'll notice that if, depending on the changes we made, again, you might have to do a purge data. So I've explained to you what config sync and purge data do. If we scroll to the bottom, Smart Docs queue, don't worry about that. Image compression, I would leave it at medium. Sign out, that's if you want to sign out totally to the main screen. Again, though, if you sign back in, you'll go right to the calendar screen. Reset application is if you're really having some bad problems, and this would be if you have like freezing issues or app issues, not necessarily connection issues or things like that. This is if there's something, just the app just isn't working correctly. Before you turn off your whole tablet, you might want to try a reset application. The problem is that, I don't know if you guys remember this, but when you first signed on your tablets, it went through some 36-step process. It's going to go through that whole process again, just so you know. It takes anywhere between 3 to 5 minutes most of the time. So that's what a reset application will do. The about will just tell you your user ID, username, and your version. So if I ever ask you what's your version, you can go to the about screen in the data sync, in the tool section. So the biggest thing, and this is why I'm doing this last, is the data sync. Now the data sync is very, very easy. It's just the same thing as with Mobile Frame. When you press the orange sync button, this is just you syncing data with the ServiceMax server. Okay, so every single day when you start, you are going to wake up, get in your truck, turn on your tablet, and you're going to go to sync data now. Now, if you need to do a config sync or a purge data first, if it prompts you to do that, obviously you're going to have to do that first. But the data sync is something you're going to have to do every single day when you come in regardless. So you have to get to that point. So, and that's how you're going to get all of your calls. So sometimes if you have a bunch of calls, it might take a little bit longer, but again, you'll see that light blue bar under tools, and it's at the bottom of the blue section up at the top, and it will slowly fill up. So you can start this and then, you know, do some stuff in the back of your truck, do whatever you got to do, and then come back to it, and it should be done by then. This one shouldn't take very long. But if you get a bunch of calls, it might take a little bit longer. And again, depending on your connection, it might take a little bit longer too. So this is just, but again, this is the most important thing. And you got to wait for that whole bar to fill up, and you got to wait for it to say data sync completed successfully, and then you have to wait for it to do this refreshing view.
Lucia, you have a call on line 19.
Again, this is something that you're going to see pretty much throughout the whole program, is just wait for that bar to fill up and sync, and then, you know, then it will refresh the view. So that's the one thing you always want to remember in the ServiceMax app. But this is especially the case with data sync. So again, data sync, you should be doing it in the morning. As you get more calls throughout the day, you know, it will sync, but, you know, you could just get used to doing data sync once in a while to keep yourself updated. Because again, it doesn't take very long. You saw that in the middle of the day when you only have like maybe one or two things, it doesn't take long at all. So, you know, just get in the habit of doing data sync once in a while. But yeah, that's how all the syncing works in the tool section. And that pretty much concludes this. Thank you.